We're back with Barry Diller, the chairman of IAC and Expedia Group, which is the largest online travel company. And he invests in a number of well-known online firms that you know of, Match.com, Tinder, a lot of names that are familiar to consumers. But I want to ask you, Mr. Diller, about your view of the overall economy. You know, the White House says the jobless rate is likely close to 16%. But then they say at the same time, the economy is about to bounce back as soon as this summer. What's the reality you see?
There's no chance. I mean, certainly the summer. I actually think the summer is kind of going to be a petri dish of all sorts of things. Petri is probably a terrible word to use right now, but there's going to be all sorts of experimenting going on, and we'll experiment with what does social distancing mean when there is no real distancing, certainly in the cities. So I think it's going to be a period where it's going to be a big mess. And by September, possibly, I think, you'll see some things economically return. I think people will be going back to work certainly by Labor Day. And I think that to anyone who thinks that this economy is going to bounce, I mean, you'd have to have the idea of a rubber ball not in existence to think it's going to bounce high. It can't. The damage that's being done is catastrophic.
Catastrophic. What do you think that means? Are you talking about widespread bankruptcies? Or do we have a handle on exactly how much there is?
Sorry. You have to have widespread bankruptcies because you have no revenue, essentially, for an enormous number of businesses. And I think that the established businesses, I mean, Expedia, which had basically a $10 billion cost base, went from a day when it would have $250 million in sales to basically zero. What Expedia did, and many other companies have done, is we've tapped the private markets for close to $4 billion, which can get us through, we think, almost any worst case scenario. But of course, you're going to have a massive amount of businesses that can't return, businesses that go bankrupt. It's inevitable, and hopefully the government will, so to speak, pick up the tab, because this is an existential crisis, and we shouldn't worry so much about doing it in a neat way. It ought to be sloppy to get that money out to everybody who needs it.
You've heard from travel companies, you've heard from United Airlines talk about, having flight attendants wear masks. You've heard these ideas thrown out of having people sit every other seat. These experiments. Which is crazy.
Look, sorry, the idea that you can take the middle seat out of an airplane and have any kind of, quote, social distancing is absurd. You can't. It does not work. Social distancing works when it's complete. Now, there are some things you can do when you're not in tight urban areas or in tight capsules like a plane, but that, ensure some more safety. What I'd like to know is, do masks work? Giving it or getting it? Because if masks work and we're all ordered to wear them, that's at least something. But the idea that you can make these small areas or theaters or whatever, or restaurants, tables 6 feet apart, I don't know. What about coming in and going out? What about the waiters who serve you? What about all that? I don't think any of that makes any sense. But you can't believe that the concept of you could maybe clean planes better. Yes, that would be good anyway. But social distancing in these kinds of arenas is a myth.
So who needs to tell you that? Do you need to hear that from the federal government? I mean, do you think consumers just won't get on planes until the federal government says you have to wear a mask, all these things have to be mandated?
Absolutely. Look, the thing is, we're going to have to go through a new kind of, let's call it risk calculation. And that's going to be based upon levels of what we believe is safe and not safe. And we're going to have to be told. Now, unfortunately, we have a witch doctor as a president, and he ain't going to tell us. And the science part of it, I think that has to be translated into more practical solutions. So somebody is going to have to say, yes, you must wear masks, period. Or no, take your chances, but the chances are pretty good. There'll be a teething period where we'll kind of get used to this. As I say, I think the next couple of months as people who are going to do it anyway, because they ain't going to stay in their houses. They can't stay in their houses or apartments or whatever forever. We'll begin to get out there and we'll learn some stuff. I think with the mistakes that will be made and all of that, and hopefully some authorities telling us what we can and can't do, we'll, by Labor Day, we'll be out of it. Yes. So, I do not believe that life has ever changed. I don't believe that this is going to have, at some point, I think this is going to be over, and we humans are going to get back to the life that we had made for ourselves. Now, maybe we'll say in some cases it went too fast, or environmental issues, et cetera. But basically, we're all going to get together again. So, whatever.
Well, thank you for your analysis, your reality check. You see a lot of consumer businesses, so it's an important counterpoint to what we are being told right now. Mr. Diller, thank you very much for your time.